Ken James and Jason McKittrick, brought to you by CryptoCurium.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Learning Lovecraft. I am your host, Jason McKittrick, and joining me, as always, is the traveler of the Eldritch Path, Mr. Kenneth James.
Hi, guys.
And we're back again, covering another one of my favorite stories, an often overlooked gem, or diamond in the rough, even. I appreciate this story. Off
the bat, I gotta say, it's up there. It's up there with the last one. This one influenced so many things, and I want to say this is so far rivaling my first story. So
I love it.
Either first or second favorite so far.
And that story is The Terrible Old Man. So before we get down to business, it's been a couple weeks, but I have another Transmissions from the Void. All right, so this week, friend of the show and filmmaker and fellow sculptor, Brian Moore, you may know him from the HPL Bronze Bust project from a few years back. If you don't, Google it. It was huge. Is going for another attempt at getting his Pickman's model film successfully funded through Kickstarter. They went for it back in the fall and unfortunately didn't make it, but they're geared up again and they're going to relaunch on May 1st. I really want to see this get made because, if you're not familiar with Brian's film work, he has an adaptation of Cool Air, which is readily available on DVD and Blu-ray, I believe. I have a copy on DVD. I really want to see him get it done because, he's a dyed-in-the-wool Lovecraft fan, and I really liked his previous work. And he's going to be tackling Pickman's model, and if anyone remembers who's recently watched Guillermo del Toro's take on it in the Cabinet of Curiosities, I know it wasn't his take, I know it's another director, but it was lackluster to say the least.
I haven't watched any of it. I don't plan to.
When we get to the stories, I will have you watch it because I don't want your lenses fogged by that nonsense. But Brian's stuff is really great, and for the design of the ghouls in this story, he brought in literally one of my favorite artists, Paul Komoda, to do the ghoul design, and it is phenomenal.
Okay.
So once again, Brian is going to be launching again on May 1st. I think next episode we'll probably have that. Some more reminders put out there for you so you can see it. And I think Brian's probably going to be a guest in the future episode. So
I'd welcome you, Brian.
Yeah. Oh, Brian's a solid dude. Love Brian.
And once again, Brian and anyone else that's out there, I don't know any of this stuff, so I'm like, pick this model. Yeah, that's I'm over here just like, I want to hear it all. But I'm seeing the glee on my fearless leader's face over here. He's enjoying it. So hey, I'm down for it.
Yeah,
let's make this happen.
I would really love to see it happen. So May 1st, make sure you get it on over there. We will post some more reminders, but up on Kickstarter, if you just search Pickman's model, it will come up. But like I said, we will post another reminder, and I think it's in the bag this time.
Hell yeah! Also, too, I just I'm always for helping out someone who has an artistic project or something that's it's gonna be different than all the other normies stuff that's out there. TV shows, movies, all that. People go, oh, you're a tough critic. I go, no, I'm just bored.
Sure.
That's literally what it is. And if any of us out there can help someone who's gonna bring something different to the table, come on, guys, knock it out of the park. Yeah. Brandon Marsh this shit.
All right, so this week, Terrible Old Man. Before we get into all of it, you like this one, huh?
Well, look, it's got all the goods of. So, like, you look at movies like The Burbs, you look at movies like Monster Squad, right? You look at even Trick or Treat. There's the concept of the man in the scary house, or the scary old man who's the outsider that the rumors swirl around, right?
Yeah.
And this one takes a different turn, but in the same realm of that conversation, it sets up that point. Yeah. It sets up the stage for that house is creepy. Monster House, like all these different, it's that kind of thing in the genre that, it's anytime that someone wants to do a take on something, like, you have all these different things in the horror genre, but like when you're making a horror movie, you're making an action movie or something, you always have that guy that's out there that everyone's kind of afraid to go talk to, and it's like, this is a cooler take on most of it, because most of it make him really friendly and like wee, but like, no, this one is cool, and it's it hit me right in the like button,
Hit you right in the like button.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Hey, sounds good to me. Great observations on that. You always got you. I was gonna point on that, but yeah, you do get that character is definitely there, and they sweeten the pot a little bit in this one, because it's like, yeah, he's weird, he's crazy, he's old, but I think he's got lots of treasure.
Yeah,
there's gold and silver in there.
Yeah.
So, from the top, I mean, this was written in January 28th of 1920 and first published in the Tryout, an amateur press publication, once again, in July of 1921. A big pull here is that it's notable. This is the first story for Lovecraft to use his notable imaginary location, Kingsport.
Okay.
And if you remember, Kingsport was the setting of the festival, which we have we have some history with the audio recording of that we did a few beers back. Yeah. Did I say beers or years?
Yeah, a few beers back, yeah. And I like that. Yeah, so, yes, okay. All right, so yeah, the festival, besides Dagon being the only two that I really had knowledge of before us starting this podcast. All right.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So right off the bat, I want to say this is a New England story, right? They really lay on the New England stuff, right? You got the seaside town, right? A colonial era home, an old sea captain, and people that want to rob it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, Jay knows. I don't know any of the listeners know of the other dangers and stuff. I'm a sucker for sea captain lore. One of my best Halloween costumes ever was a sea captain. My grandfather imbued in me the love for this stuff, because the house that he owned that I grew up, one of the houses I grew up in, was adorned with sea captains and maritime stuff. And
did they have the sea captain salt and pepper shakers?
No, that was stuff that was upstairs. Up there, my grandma ruled.
Oh, okay.
Downstairs, my grandpa put all the sea captain stuff down there.
Right.
But like, I have a lifelong thing. And my mother-in-law, I think I might have showed you last time we were up, but she got me a porcelain sea captain statue, and it's just like
the things they've seen.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I don't want to give away too much anything, but like this kind of sea captain, when they said sea captain with it, I was like, whoa, where are we going with this? Haunted, not haunted, but like scary house on the hill with old creepy man who the town is talking about. Also sea captain? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's something he's going to use a few times.
Right. Oh, good.
And I have to open up. I mean, the opening quote is just, kind of sets the stage for us.
It was the design of Angelo Ricci and Joe Zanuck and Manuel Silva to call on the terrible old man. This old man dwells all alone in a very ancient house on Water Street near the sea, and is reputed to be both exceedingly rich and exceedingly feeble, which forms a situation very attractive to men of the profession of messers. Ricci, Zanuck, and Silva, for that profession was nothing less dignified than robbery.
So, they're going to rob this guy.
Yeah, 3 career criminals.
Yep. 3 specifically not New England guys are there to rob some stuff, and we'll cover that when we get later on.
Yeah.
But they kind of make, he makes the point that this is an old, strange, and feeble old man with his long white hair, his beard, and you gotta love the so old that no one knows his name. Right?
Yes.
And you gotta love that this terrible old man lives in Kingsport, as we mentioned, and in the far-off days of his unremembered youth was a sea captain. Okay? And more importantly, he hides a fortune of indefinite magnitude somewhere about his musty and venerable abode. So, he's got that allure. You know, maybe they shun him a little bit because he was out to sea too long,
Right.
and but he was out a long time. But you know, he's got something about him that it's strange that they have to. He's that guy. He's the shunned guy.
And so they're starting to talk about his house and stuff. So it literally is the quintessential. In any of these movies where you see the old man living at the house, or even the old woman, the old person that lives in this house, it's like unkempt. It's it seems older than it should be. It's not updated, and it seems comfortable for that person's time. So once again, you're getting this writing and this description where not so big as other things that we've got in like the Doom that came to Sarnath. At this point, we're getting a smaller tour, of the house where it's like, okay, I can see where we're kind of going here.
Horror in your backyard.
Yeah, and it's exactly, and it's maintaining my kind of mental, jumble. It's not like making me go like these walls and these cities.
No,
It's
you
like
can hear the waves crash, and you get it.
Yeah, right.
You can
It's
see
like-
his pea coat.
Yep, exactly. This guy doesn't care about the state of it.
Right.
A house is meant to be lived in, and he lives there.
Right.
And doesn't care of the state.
And then for me, now we come to this next section, what really starts to pull in the Lovecraftian weirdness and honestly kind of exemplary for stories going forward. We get this second quote.
Among the gnarled trees in the front yard of his aged and neglected place, he maintains a strange collection of large stones, oddly grouped and painted, so that they resemble the idols in some obscure Eastern temple.
I love it. Because this is where you get that oddly carven statues, idols.
Right,
this is
right.
where my mind goes to, because you already know the stuff to come, or at least if you're a Lovecraft fan, you know the stuff to come. So you're like, is it carved like Cthulhu? Does it look like Dagon? Is it a deep one? Is it Yog-Sothoth? What is it? But he has this weird arrangement of stones that look like some kind of like offering or like worship area.
Maybe in his travels he's encountered some of the things from the stories that I've already read at this point, where it's like maybe he's not just discovered these things, but he also has worship, because there's something coming that you're gonna, I'm sure, go over in a couple minutes. But I love that too. And it also calls to that there was a guy, I forget his name, but he was one of those people that said that he mastered, what do you call it? 0 point energy, and he like made this whole structure out in this house. Remember that guy? I think it was in California.
Yeah. He made that weird like structure, and like
and people were coming in and all, and it reminded me of that, and I was like, but also that guy was just doing it to build stuff.
Yeah.
This guy obviously has some knowledge of some of the, I guess, old ones.
Hey, possibly. I mean, this is well before that, but, once again, I think we said in previous
Setup.
episodes,
It's a
he's
setup,
setting it up.
yeah,
He's creating his playground. This is his toy box. He's setting up these things, that these sets that he likes to put his stories in.
Yeah.
So, and I was just going to say that these stones or idols or whatever you want to call them, they anticipate a lot of elements from specifically Shadow over Innsmouth, but even a little bit of Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Anyone listening, if you're listening, folks, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Ken, you get to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I love hearing the stuff that I've yet. I love the talking for the people that are the initiated.
Yeah.
Which I'm in my I'm getting jumped in phase.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
I'm down. I'm down.
And then we get this next passage, which really just lays the rest of the mysterious stuff out, and we get.
But there are other things which frighten the older and more curious folk who sometimes steal up to the house to peer in through the dusty panes. These folk say that on a table in a bare room on the ground floor are many peculiar bottles, in each a small piece of lead-suspended pendulum, wise from a string. And they say that the terrible old man talks to these bottles, addressing them by such names as Jack, Scarface, Long Tom, Spanish Joe, Peters, and Mate Ellis, and that whenever he speaks to a bottle, the little red pendulum within makes certain definite vibrations, as if an answer. Those who have watched the tall, lean, terrible old man in these peculiar conversations do not watch him again.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm going to need a little help. Right, because I understand that he's talking to these bottles, and I'm trying to the pendulum. Right, Can you explain that to me again? Because like I read it again. What is it?
So we have a bottle,
Yeah.
okay, and inside the bottle, let's say there's a cork, and then coming through the cork is a string, and at the bottom is like a lead sinker, like when you go fishing.
Okay.
And in there, it's just a piece of lead that they can see.
Oh, right.
All
Inside each of the bottles.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's a few artist representations of this, and most of the time you'll see like it's the bottle, and maybe there might be a label on the bottom with the person's name.
Right. So okay. So
Right.
now that's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Now saying that, right? Now I'm thinking, okay, this is a thing of vibration. Something's kept in there, and it's a communication maybe to old sea mates, people that were on the ship. I know it's, but that where just my mind went is like he's actually communicating to these old sea mates or these people that served under him, maybe on these ships that he lost, and these bottles were maybe used by them, but he has this way of in his travels putting this sinker or this piece of lead or whatever it was in the bottle and communicating with them through that kind of vibrations.
Yes.
So almost like you would see in a seance or something like that. But
maybe I have ideas in the conclusion section.
Sure.
But that's what we're given. That's all we have. I mean,
right.
people come up to this house in this area, they see this stuff, and they're like, "What is that guy doing?"
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I love the Jolly Pirate nicknames.
Yeah.
Long Tom and Spanish Joe. Those are my two right there.
Scarface.
I mean, is this the first use of Scarface?
I think so. I think that's
1920.
where they. I think
Was Al Capone already in business?
I think Al Capone took the name from H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, you know what? Probably everyone's just taken from him, just wholesale. And these bottles for sure. It's like so you think of it and it's like is lead sinker, so you think of it and you're like, does this have something to do with fishing or something? Who knows? I mean, at this point in the story, it's like,
right?
I don't know.
So you would think that maybe once again, like he has the names on these specific bottles.
Yeah. Maybe
these were pieces of their tackle box that he used to communicate with these people that used to.
Spooky, like a spooky tackle box.
Yeah, it's a spooky tackle box.
Wow, that's the name of a bar.
That's the name of our bar. That once, once we're in our, golden.
Yeah, the spooky tackle box.
Yeah, the spooky tackle box.
Yeah.
And we'll also sell comics and toys.
Sure, I'm into it. Also in there, right after this, Lovecraft likes to make the point that the robbers are not of New England stock. To the point where he says something to the effect of like, we have Ricci, Chanik, and Silva were not of Kingsport blood, and they were of that new and heterogeneous alien stock which lies outside the charmed circle of New England life and traditions, and they saw in the terrible old man merely a tottering, almost helpless graybeard who could not walk without the aid of his knotted cane, and whose thin, weak hands shook pitifully.
Helpless graybeard. I love that. I love that. I love helpless graybeard because that's something you would call someone, right?
Yeah.
Like, they'd be like, oh, the helpless graybeard. But also, a lot of helpless graybeards are bad mother efforts.
Well, that's the thing, because you think about this. There's this dude who's been here for a long-ass time, right? He's shunned or just ignored.
There's a reason for his reverence.
Yeah, but people stay away from him. All right, but in their minds, doesn't matter. And they even say literally the term "business is in there." And hey, this guy's a mark, and we're gonna get him.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And they even give you a little more backstory that he'd been observed for paying for the few of his necessities that he actually needs in the village store with Spanish gold and silver minted 2 centuries ago. So this is from the 1700s.
Beautiful.
So
it's beautiful.
Yeah. So and this is Lovecraft. So in my mind, I'm like, that's how old he is.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right. So, I actually found this is actually kind of cool because I hadn't reread this story in a long time, and the night that they choose to do their robberies, April 11th. I was reading it on April 11th. I was like, yes. Love it.
See, those weird things kind of happen to us, though.
Yeah,
with
they do.
with this and our other podcast, and So with this one too, like. When they say like the outsiders are the ones that do it, I like that concept too of like, and once again, it's repeated in modern horror and 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, like that, like the outsider's the one, like, oh man, this is so easy. It's so like, oh, we got this guy.
It
like
was so easy.
Yeah,
Someone would have done it
so
already.
easy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way we're gonna get caught. This and that. Look at this town. These people. You know, like that concept once again is reflected in this story. Yeah.
There's the declarative statement and then the cigarette flick right after.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
we got this.
Yeah, we're good. But once again, I love it, the ominous nature of that. Everyone in this town stays away from this guy, right? And there's a reason why the outsiders that don't know are like, easy mark, right?
Right, yep.
Because anywhere else in the world you'd see this easy mark.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's like, sure about that?
Yeah. Exactly. Literally anything in the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
So, Ricci and Silva, they're going to be the ones that interview, quote unquote, the old man, right? They have the three guys. They're going to interview the old man, and Chanik is going to wait in the getaway car on Ship Street. On the back, it's the back gate of the old man's house.
And that's funny too, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, I wasn't expecting that kind of getaway plan from an H.P. Lovecraft story, right? I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. Once again, I know big sea monsters. I know, you know, like, things underground.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, all right, Howard. You know, like that's
Hey, he had how to make it punchy, man. How to so they're set. I mean, they have their plan. Getaway car, like I said, around the back, and they bring the car because they are expecting to have a large amount of gold and silver. Yeah. So that's why they really want this to go off without a hitch. They're like, okay, if there's a lot, let's just pull up to the back gate. Yeah. Load it in, and we'll just get out of here.
They seem more organized than the Wet Bandits. You know, they're like, they have a third, they have a lookout. It's, it's...
Yes. The third is, I think that's what you need. Like, even in the beginning of Drive, they hire the guy just to do the car. The other two are there to do the wet work, if you will.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, I will. It's so, once again, like, I love the concept of like almost a heist, coming at this point. And once again, I was not expecting that at this point. So I was like, fucking wait. Like, we got a getaway drive? I'm like,
yeah.
Like my once again, and this is why when you're talking about these subjects, and a lot of people they like to like pontificate about like, I know H.P. Lovecraft, this and that I've listened to before. I'm like, yo, you never told me about the fucking heist. Like,
well, HP is writing in the pulps here. Like, there's got to be some hard. You're going to see as we go on. There's some hard boiled stuff in here.
I'm sure,
mixed with tentacled abominations.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's. Anyone, they always focus on the tentacled abominations or like the mind-bending creatures, and it's like, I'm like, oh,
yeah, they still got to get to work.
Yeah, like, right, like, I'm like, oh, this is cool. like this is an easy mind wrapping around point of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And they even to further that point, they decide to all set out separately to avoid later possible suspicion, because they're like, oh, let's all leave from three different places. I was getting coffee here. I was over here doing whatever. Whatever. I was worshiping Cthulhu over there. It's all what it is.
He's laying out actually a good plan.
He is.
Like that's the thing.
Airtight, even.
Airtight.
Yep.
Yes.
So then we get this quote, which I really, really love.
Ritchie and Silver met in Water Street by the old man's front gate. And although they did not like the way the moon shone down upon the painted stones through the budding branches of the gnarled trees, they had more important things to think about than mere idle superstition. They feared it might be unpleasant work making the terrible old man loquacious concerning his hoarded gold and silver, for aged sea captains are notably stubborn and perverse.
Love that whole passage. They give us that little calm before the storm kind of thing, like, the light of the moon looks weird on these ancient idols. It's like, yes!
Yeah.
But then also, they move a little bit forward, and they give you it's unpleasant work trying to get this old sailor to talk, because we know how he's going to give us like trucker talk the whole time. You're going to get,
it's going to be jargon.
Yeah,
you have to work through jargon, and not only that, like we're going to probably have to.
Oh yeah,
do some. That was my knuckles cracking.
Stubborn but perverse. You know you're going to get every filthy line thrown at you, and it's going to be, and
they'll probably be like, "You're going to have to fucking kill me."
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, they're trying to get Willem Dafoe from the lighthouse to give up his gold.
Yes.
And he probably farts in their face just like in the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, that's in The Northman. Yeah.
But that part where he brings the weird into it, I did not like the way the moon shone down upon the painted stones through the budding branches of the gnarled trees. It's like he has a moment, and he's like, eh.
Yeah, this guy, this dude, and like these are the coolest things. Like, so you're dealing with career criminals, right? This is how they make their money. Mm-hmm. All of them have obviously made their quote unquote bones at this point. They've robbed so many people, but you get to the point where it's like.
So you're saying they've all indeed put in work?
Yeah. Yeah. Put in mad work.
Yeah. Okay.
Dog. But the thing is, I love that because you'll see it, and once again you'll see this coming in movies and shows and stuff. But once again, I wasn't expecting this to like the hey man, I have a gut feeling. That's what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
My gut feeling isn't right. But at this point, it's like, no, I'm observing something that it's like it's off. This is off, but it's still a full go. You know, and they do that in Event Horizon, there's so many. I
like the pause before it's go time.
Yes,
it's and he even says, "But I don't have time to think about superstitions right now.
Right.
We're here. This is potentially going to be a pain in the ass because this guy's not going to want to give up his gold. Hopefully, it goes simple, but you know what? Probably not.
Right. We have to go in and out. We have to get it done as quick as we can because this guy is either going to fight or give us a runaround, no matter how old he is.
Yeah. And they even say after that they're experienced in the art of making unwilling persons, speak, and also that the screams of a weak and exceptionally venerable man can be easily muffled. So, he'll be a pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, he's an old man. We're going to have it
we'll
covered.
Just punch his balls over and over again and cover his mouth.
Sure. His eldritch balls. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So they get there. They walk up to that ground floor window that they mentioned earlier, and they see the old man speaking, quote unquote, childishly to his bottles. So that's just so weird. Is he talking in a kid's voice? Is he just oh yeah, and today I drew a picture, and today
I was how I took that was he was just freely talking in a way of going back and forth, little kids they'll set up their toys and they'll be like, no G.I. Joe, stay out of it, Street Sharks, they go back and forth with their toys. I was thinking of it like that.
Yeah, no, that's what it is for sure.
I wasn't thinking he was just Buzz Lightyear, I was thinking he was just no, he was having this weird argument with his toys.
No, you got it, buddy.
Doing good. Kenny's doing good.
So then they put on their masks and they knocked politely at the weather-stained oaken door. And boom. All right? Yeah. And very cinematic, too, because right then they're at the door, they go to knock, and then boom, we cut to Channick back at the getaway car.
Yeah, so once again, this was another reason this is probably rivaling my first favorite story so far. It's clean, it's concise, it's not drifting off into places
under 1,200 words.
Right.
Yeah.
And also so it's the statement of Randolph Carter and the tomb. Those are two of my other favorites.
Yeah.
This one is right in between those, but it kind of cuts out the BS.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah.
So
there's not so much flowery exposition.
Exactly. And at this point though, it leaves you with the whoa, wait, what? At this point we're going into this transition. I was all in. At this point I'm
yeah.
Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's happening here?
Right. Yeah. So we cut to Channick, who's in the car, and he's been there for a while. Like, he's like, what is taking so long? He didn't even say he looks at his watch a few times.
Yeah.
And a little bit back, he had heard screams right about around the time that should have been appropriate for, like, okay, this is probably when it happened.
Yeah.
But it spooked him because, like, all right, why is he screaming already? And he had told Ricci and Silva to go easy on him. Like, look, we don't have to kill him.
Yeah.
Incapacitate him, tie him up, whatever. You know, you can infer what he said to the guy, but, like, just go easy on the guy. He's an old man. Just let's take his money, you know, whatever.
Just, like, put his face in a pillow. Like,
Right. He even says that very nervously he watched the narrow oaken gate in the high and ivy-clad stone wall. Frequently he consulted his watch and wondered at the delay. Had the old man died before revealing where his treasure was hidden? And had a thorough search become necessary? So he's even thinking, he's like, dude, what happened? He's like, you know what? He was such a pain in the ass that, like, he didn't give it up, and they pushed too hard. They had to kill him, and now they're ripping the place apart, trying to find the gold. Yeah. Right. So then we get, this incredible passage.
Then he sensed a soft tread or tapping on the walk inside the gate, heard a gentle fumbling at the rusty latch, and saw the narrow, heavy door swing inward. And in the pallid glow of the single dim street lamp, he strained his eyes to see what his colleagues had brought out of that sinister house which loomed so close behind. But when he looked, he did not see what he had expected, for his colleagues were not there at all, but only the terrible old man leaning quietly on his knotted cane and smiling hideously. Mr. Zanuck had never before noticed the color of that man's eyes. Now he saw that they were yellow.
Yeah, yellow.
It's like, I mean, I hate to do the thing, but it's almost like a Michael Jackson Thriller. Like, the eyes are yellow. Oh, I'm just noticing. Wait a minute. They never gave him the time of day to just... He was always just this old, feeble old man. They'd never, taken heed of those stories from the town. Like, hey, we stay away from this house because this guy's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And not to the point where it's just like, he, talks to squirrels in his backyard. No.
Yeah.
Someone got close to him one day and his eyes glow yellow.
Yeah. It's like, and that's a weird color. That was one thing that I pinned in on. Because, if it's sinister, they usually go, black or red or, something like that.
Yeah.
But the yellow, that was,
I kind of got the idea of, like, a predatory cat.
Sure.
You know, where, like, their eyes glow yellow.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, he's a predator.
Yeah.
He's, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me, kind of thing,
Yeah, we're
so, and, like, they noticed too late that, like, literally the spider was, basically...
Yeah.
Getting them into it,
and not just the predator too. Web. Also, I thought I did think that, but I also bounced around the idea of not just yellow, but almost like kind of like glowing.
Yeah,
like maybe some of the stonework out there, and some of the ritualistic stuff that may exist. It was like at that time, it just took over, and it was. Yeah. He was imbued with some kind of...
No matter what, it gives you the impression, unnatural, completely.
Exactly.
So they went into this house with this guy, went on his home turf, and they suffered the consequences.
Exactly. Right. Which goes to, that, what was it, Hush or Don't Speak, that movie with the guy that goes into that kind of thing. Yeah. So... Maybe he makes cocoons out of newspaper that he just licks and throws into it and comes back every 30 years or so. I don't know. See the X-Files for more. But so the unnatural thing, I got the idea, but then I was thinking about too that visual of the cane with the eyes glowing and the smiling, and I was like, yo, this guy, I like this guy, it's a character, and I'm sure we'll never see him again in any of these. We won't see him. Well, actually, that's not true. We'll get there. Okay, sorry. No, but. We get that, and then we have to pull another quote here because I love this because the way that this ties this story up was just really great for me. So we have this next quote here. Little things make considerable excitement in little towns, which is the reason that Kingsport people talked all that spring and summer about the 3 unidentifiable bodies, horribly slashed as with many cutlasses, and horribly mangled as by the tread of many cruel boot heels, which the tide washed in. And some people even spoke of things as trivial as the deserted motor car found in Ship Street,
or certain especially inhuman cries, probably of a stray animal or migratory bird, heard in the night by wakeful citizen. But in this idle village gossip, the terrible old man took no interest at all. He was by nature reserved, and when one is aged and feeble, one's reserve is doubly strong. Besides, so ancient a sea captain must have witnessed scores of things much more stirring in the far-off days of his unremembered youth.
Yeah, no, I love that too.
And that's the end of the story.
Yeah. So it's like, that whole, like, kind of like, well, this is how we are in this town. You know, like that kind of thing. And it actually reminded me, once again, I've talked about it before, not here, but Chris Lloyd's narration of the movie When Good Ghouls Go Bad. He does that a lot. And I know, it's silly, but he does, it's very similar speak and diction, like the same thing. And it's that's the thing, like, you know, this happened, this score, and now the narrator comes in and talks about moving on from the event. Oh yeah, they found these bodies. They were torn apart by, like, you know, some kind of animal, and we don't know. You know, we don't know. It is what it is. Yeah. But still, you know, the terrible old man lives up there in his house, and, you know, we all stay away.
Yeah, I mean, but they even make the point that, you know, in a little town, little things make big excitement. So this was like the talk of the town for that whole thing. Oh, did you hear about those bodies that washed up? Yeah, there was like it was cut with. It looked like they were pirate swords cut into them, and they were, you know, stepped on, and you know, they find the car, and like, whose car was this? Why was it parked behind here? Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, you hear that buzz of the town, but even then, the terrible man don't care. Because he know whatever he has, whatever knowledge he has or powers or whatever he possesses, he knows that obviously time must be on his side. Right. So he's just like,
well, that's what I was saying.
And he goes about whatever it is he's doing in there. And just such all the strange things that he must have seen in his far off days and his unremembered youth. It's just like, oh my God, it's like what kind of weird, remarkable things did he get to see when he was out to sea, and how did that affect and shape who he is now? And
why is he retiring there? Like, why is that?
Oh, he's by the sea. It's Lovecraft.
I'm saying, but like, but that's the questions you ask, right? And when I said that, like, that it goes like untalked about, like, or whatever, however I put it, I meant more so of the everything goes back to normal. Everyone's talking, but no one's going to do anything because they're still reverent of the you know, the terrible old man. It is what it is, and I love it. I love it, and because in movies now or shows where they do that, there's always some kind of conclusion, or there's some kind of answer, or there's some kind of way of he becomes a good guy, or they take him down, or he's taken. It's like, no, dude, no, this is an unbeatable entity, right? Just because it exists and it does what it does. You know what I mean? Like,
and as is the way of weird fiction, you get these things that never have a concrete explanation. Right. They let you try to figure out what it is, and it becomes stronger because, and I think we said this in previous episodes, the theater of the mind kind of takes over, and you're like, oh, I think it was probably this, and, you know, 10 people could read this, and you might get 10 different ideas of what was really going on there. And you know, that's the thing that got me, because I was sitting down, I was like, so what is the deal with the bottles? You know, because
that was the question I was.
That is the question.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was kind of, you know, I had one idea, and then I was kind of thinking, you know, could he be, or was Lovecraft suggesting that the old man is an alchemist, right? Old man, he has all these bottles, lead, which is what they were concerned with. They wanted to transform lead into gold, right? He has gold, all right? They say it's Spanish, but I don't know. And there is that mention of his fortune, and I was looking into some, like, you know, alchemical stuff, and lead is one of the 7 noble metals and is associated with transformation. Right. You know, so I mean, there's no concrete thing, right? And I looked into a bunch of notes. Lovecraft was never specific about what exactly they meant.
Unfortunately, he's not here for us to, press him.
We would have him on every episode.
Yeah.
If he was.
Really Howard.
Yeah. What did you mean by this? He was like, oh, I don't remember that story.
Yeah. He's like, listen, asshole. No.
He would never curse.
Oh, he's like, listen, buddy.
No, he would call you like something. He had very if we ever get to any of his letters, he had a very refined way of taking people down. It was fun. It was fun times.
I'm sure it's spectacular.
It was.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you on the board of like maybe he was an alchemist. I also like the idea of like maybe he just in his travels, in his old age, he found something that, it's so weird to even say, like, if he was an alchemist and he had the lead in the bottles, right?
Yeah.
There's still lead in the bottles. He hasn't converted that.
I mean, maybe just the lead being in there is some kind of like conduit of transformation.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of the glass and the lead inside of it, and the vibrations being some kind of communication to another side or another source, but also he knows and he has his knowledge of the idols and the things that he has, out there.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, he understands how to like, John Constantine it and call on to different things.
Yeah, I mean and that was my other conclusion, which is probably closer to what he thought maybe, but. So it's a short story. So what's in there is in there very purposeful, right? So you have these ancient stone statues and idols, which probably are something that he was a sea captain, and during his far travels at sea, he discovered this, island with similar stones, and somehow gained the ability, while he was there through some kind of arcane rituals, of transforming and sealing like a soul or a life essence into lead into a jar somehow, almost like a ship in a bottle.
Yeah, right.
And then with that, he's somehow able to control them to do his bidding. Right?
Yeah.
Because he kills. Because those guys will get killed by. They say cutlasses. That's a pirate sword.
Yeah.
So, is that what happens? They come in there and he's just like they come in and he literally just gives them the side eye and he's able to just whatever he does.
And he's like scar-faced,
Yeah. And Spanish Joe, do your thing.
Yeah, and it's a character from Mortal Kombat that comes out.
And they just come out in some kind of ghostly form, and then he's like, throw them on the beach.
Oh,
and that's what they do.
It makes it better. It makes it so much better, that
right.
idea.
Now, however, now here's the little end of the part where I was kind of wondering. The three guys that got killed, does he now have 3 new jars with 3 little hanging things on his shirt that he now controls as well? Maybe
he might, but I would like to think of if any of them were excellent, like if they were excellent in what they did.
Right.
I feel like that might be the jar worthy.
Right. I mean, who knows who even knows if excellence comes into it? Because maybe it's just these are his crewmates, and he was like, well, I captured him. I was able to think, and he argues with them endlessly. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, I learned this ability. This is what I do now. I have all this gold, and they do my bidding. These guys dare to come into his inner sanctum, and he uses them on them. Is he able to absorb their essence as well? I don't know, but I don't even know if excellence comes into it. Maybe he's just, if we're going back to that old man archetype, is he this miserly type that just collects? Almost like a Scrooge kind of thing. It's like, oh, you came into my area?
Yeah,
okay, no problem. Kills them, tosses their body on the beach, but now he's got 3 new bottles with 3 new names on it.
Oof, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where like I'm insulted that like Hollywood couldn't find something like this. Like, this is awesome, right?
Yeah, they try every once in a while, but I don't think they see the merit in a lot of this stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, how, like, it's laid out for you.
Yeah.
Like, some of these stories, especially this one.
Yeah.
Right? This could be an hour-and-a-half banger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you leave it on a cliffhanger with the ending like they did.
Because, honestly, I think a lot of the Lovecraftian adaptations are usually... like, okay, you have your screenwriter comes in, right? Hot new screenwriter wants to put his spin on the story. They always put their spin on the wrong part. It's always like, here's the genius part that makes the story great. They fuck with that. No, add some exposition to the characters. Great.
Yeah.
Not the old man. Keep him the mystery. Tell us about this guy who's behind on his rent. Tell about this guy who's his parole officer, this or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The troubles with getting the car, and then we finally get there. Then bring out the, oh my god, like make it very mundane in the beginning, and then we get to inside the old man's house. It's like,
that's the thing. Like, you look at any of the best horror movies, especially over the last 10 years, the mundane stuff is perfect to build it. Like, I'm gonna even do it. The first Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Mundane.
Yes.
People living there.
Yes.
And then the things go haywire, but it's so mundane. And then, of course,
a generational cult.
Yeah, right. They have to start doing this build stuff. It's like, no, leave the reason. A lot of times, like, if you could just leave the reason out of it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need it to be buttoned up
Yeah, let us get there.
Yeah.
That's some of the greatest stuff.
And the mundane stuff is what makes it scary.
Yeah.
Like I told you, before, when I was a kid, it was a fall day. I was sitting on my couch, and I heard laughter, and the door closed, and it was wacky.
Yeah.
Don't know what it was. Never will.
Yeah, horror in your backyard.
Horror,
Nothing scarier.
but that's the thing. It was just so mundane. It was just after school.
Yeah.
It's everyday life kind of stuff. And if you just that's what this was. It was everyday life. This whole town knows it's this mundane everyday life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the outsiders come in.
Yeah.
And they try to do a thing, and then it comes back to bite you. But
yeah, yes. I mean, it's always going to be difficult when talking about trying to adapt the Lovecraftian stuff, because the language is so big a part of creating the mood and atmosphere.
Yeah.
But then also everyone wants to come in with their snappy new take on it, and it's just like, come on, man.
Get this.
Yeah. It's like, no. He already made the awesome thing.
Yeah.
Just bring in somebody to clean it up, add some more stuff here and there that helps pad out the parts that could use some padding, and you'd have a great little
it's like
little short here.
It's like, how about the art is in your visuals that you create?
Sure.
Because the story's there, just adapt the visuals in a great way.
Yeah.
But no, I love this one. It resonated with me in the sense of, like I said, that this is a town, the everyday stuff, it's spooky in its own right, and then when someone decides to mess with the house on the hill, or mess with the spooky old monster house, you get bitten.
Instant karma gets you right away.
I loved it. It's up there with my first favorite, and Kenny's in. Kenny's in.
All right. I mean, I'm glad you liked it.
It's a good time.
In conclusion on the story here, I mean, I know you don't know what any of these characters are, but for folks who are are steeped in Lovecraft stuff, this story birthed future stories. I mean, Obed Marsh directly comes from this story. Joseph Kerwin comes from this story. Old Wizard Whately comes from this story. And The Pitcher in the House basically rewrites this a little bit simpler, but it's a very similar story. All those stories, all those characters from those stories definitely were born from this story. And I can't wait to get to this.
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that's the idea. Those are little Lovecraftian treasure boxes you haven't opened yet.
He's reading all those, and I'm like,
So, I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, I'm glad you liked it.
No, this was a banger. I love this one. This is totally in my wheelhouse.
Great.
And it should be everyone's, because it's just the way it is. It's that this is the setup for so much horror stuff. And that's what there is there. I mean, there is a little bit of folks have come back at the story a little bit with it's the old New England guy takes out these three new interlopers from European immigrants kind of thing, and I'm yes, that is in there, and that's Lovecraft's stuff that we have covered previously, but again, it's a great story too. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, right. And the last thing I'll say on it is, it's literally, when outsiders come in and try to do some dirt.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale for sure.
You effed around and found out.
They did, and they underestimated the character, because it was like, there's a reason we don't bother with this guy.
Exactly.
And you came in and you thought, you're just going to come in, do your thing, and
I loved it, and I'm in.
Yeah. Excellent.
I'm in.
All right, man. I mean, that's it for the terrible old man, and I guess we'll see you next time. So for Learning Lovecraft podcast, I've been Jason McKittrick,
And I've been Ken James,
and we'll see you on the other side of sleep.